Okay, hi everybody. In case you don't know, my name is Mickey. I'm a therapist. We talk about therapist-y things here. So if you like that, you should subscribe to the channel and stick around. We do fun stuff. So today we're talking about 5 things that you should say to a person in mourning. We did a video about 5 things that you should not say to a person in mourning a little while ago, and this was actually a request from somebody who watched that video, so thank you for the request. Hopefully this advice is useful to you guys. If you have questions or whatever, leave them in the comments, or if you have more video suggestions, leave those in the comments too. And yeah, let's just talk about it. Okay, so like I said, the video that we're talking about is 5 things that you should say, or maybe not 5 things that you should say, but like 5 things that are okay to say to a person who is mourning or grieving the loss of a loved one. One thing that I didn't touch on in the last video too is that a person who is in mourning or grieving can be mourning or grieving a number of different things. This does not specifically apply to a person whose like friend or family member died. This also applies to people who have pets that have died or have experienced grief or loss in another way. And so I want to encourage you guys to show up for the people in your life who are grieving in some capacity, though it may not be related specifically to the death of a human being. All grief is created equal, so people are allowed to grieve the things that they want to grieve, and so this advice is useful for that too. So, thing number 1 is to validate and welcome the expression of emotion. This can look a number of different ways. Basically what this means is to communicate to someone whatever you're feeling, whenever you feel it, whatever that feeling looks like for you, that's okay. I'm happy to hold space for that. I want you to know that you can talk about that. I want you to feel comfortable sharing that with me, etc., etc. There are a lot of preconceived notions about what grief looks like, and so when a person is going through the mourning process, a lot of times they feel pressure to first of all move through the grieving process within a certain amount of time, but also to like keep a lid on their emotions and not be like dramatic or ridiculous, or to be a person who is being like over the top with their emotions. So it's really helpful and really freeing for you to let a person know that whatever your grief looks like, I'm okay or happy to hold space for that. Because again, grief looks a lot of different ways, and someone might be angry, someone might have really aggressive crying fits, someone might want to laugh or, you know, experience joy during the grieving process. That's a very normal part of grieving, is that sometimes when we're in that space of feeling super fucking depressed, that something that's not really that funny will make a person start to laugh hysterically. And so it can be really useful and helpful to validate the fuck out of that person's emotional expression and just give them permission to feel however the fuck that they feel, and to show that in whatever way makes sense for them, as long as that's like safe, obviously. But yeah, the key message here is to just validate and communicate support for a person to experience their emotions in whatever way works for them. Thing number 2 is that I know that there is no perfect thing to say, but I am here to listen. This is useful again because there is not a perfect thing to say, and sometimes we feel pressured to try and come up with the perfect thing to say, which we talked about this in the last video, but usually that pressure on ourselves to say the perfect thing ends up in a person just ghosting somebody who's lost a loved one because we don't know what to say. So sometimes it's helpful to just own the fact that like, I don't really know what to say, but I'm here. I want you to know that I'm in your corner. I'm here to be supportive of you. I am happy to hold space for you or to listen to you or to give you support in whatever way you need. This is also kind of refreshing for people who are going through the grieving process because they do hear the same canned responses about I'm so sorry for your loss and you have my greatest sympathies. They hear that shit a lot, and so sometimes it's kind of nice to have a person be like, dude, I don't fucking know. Like, I don't really know how to do this, but I do know that I am your friend and that I love you deeply, and so I'm here to be your person, whatever that looks like, whatever that means. I'm in your corner and we're going to make it through this thing together. So whatever verbiage works for you, or whatever way that looks like for you to express that, I want to encourage you to do that, because again, we can be supportive of a person without sounding like we are reciting lines from a greeting card, and usually that's the most effective way to be supportive to a person, is if you are expressing how you feel or what you think authentically in a way that really sounds like you, because people can read when we're giving them inauthentic, canned responses. And so if you're being authentic to yourself and being who you are, your friend, family member, loved one will probably feel more supported and more safe with you, because there's not this weird like conversation format that they feel like they have to follow. So thing number 3 is kind of, this comes with a caveat. Thing number 3 is I'm going to do X, Y, and Z for you. What's a good time for me to do that? A lot of times we see or hear about a person saying, you know, let me know if there's anything that I can do, or if there's anything I can help with, please give me a call, which is very nice. And that is a nice thing to say. However, a person who is grieving or mourning oftentimes might not feel comfortable asking you to come over and clean their fucking house, or asking you to take their goddamn kids out of the house for an hour. There are a lot of things that can be useful to a person who's grieving that they might not feel comfortable to actually ask you to do. And so taking that asking out of the equation is a really useful thing. The reason I say that this comes with a caveat is because it's important that you know the person well enough that you barging into their personal space or like invading their schedule in that way isn't a boundary violation. So if you're a person who is close to this person, then, you know, feel free to exercise this one. But if this is a person who's like a coworker or somebody that is like an acquaintance, maybe exercise this one with some caution, because we don't want to be violating people's boundaries or making people uncomfortable. But if you're a close family member, if it's your best friend, if it's somebody that you know really well, feel free to say, listen, I'm going to take the kids out for a play date. We're going to be gone for 2.5 hours. What's a good day for me to do that? Or I know that you probably are not in the mood to clean, so I'm going to come over and I'm going to wash your dishes. What day and time is good for me to do that? Letting a person know I'm going to drop off dinner. What is a good day for me to do that? Secondary caveat with this one, be careful with the food thing, because this is like the number one way that people will show up in support of somebody who's just lost somebody, is to just like drop off the funeral potatoes, right? Which is, again, not a mean thing. That's not bad. That is a very useful and kind thing to do, but we want to make sure that we're not inundating a person with the same fucking casserole like 16 times. So if you know that this person really loves a specific restaurant or has a favorite food, maybe make that and say, I'm dropping it off. What's a good day and time? Or let them know, I'm buying you dinner. What day this week do you want me to order takeout for you? Something to that effect. Again, the idea here is that you're not asking them, let me know if you need help or if there's something I can do. You're telling them, I am doing this thing for you. What day and time is good? And again, that's important to ask, like, what day and time is good, because you're still offering them some autonomy and like respecting the boundaries. But the key here is that you're doing something kind or useful in a practical way without doing the thing where you're like, well, just let me know if you need anything, because they won't ask you. They won't ask you. They will just suffer in silence. So just like jump in there and do it. Okay. Thing number 4 is a little bit redundant, but I felt it was important to include this specifically for a reason that we will talk about. But thing number 4 is to tell a person, you don't have to be okay around me. This is sort of related to the first thing that we talked about, in that all emotions are okay in whatever way you want to express them. But it's important, I think, to offer a person this permission, again, because a lot of times people feel self-conscious about their grieving process or what that might look like for them, especially if this is the first time they've experienced loss and they don't really know what the process looks or feels like. So it is important to let a person know, if you're close with them, that you don't have to do the thing where you pretend to be fine. Please don't feel like you have to put clothes on. You do not have to take a shower today. You can call me at like 4 a.m. if you're just like having a weird time. You don't have to force yourself to prescribe to these like societal norms during this time. You don't have to be super sad for this whole time. It's okay if you want to like watch a funny movie and you want to laugh. All of that kind of stuff. It is really useful to put it out there that I understand grieving looks different for everybody. So you do not have to be okay around me, and you do not have to behave a certain way, especially as this is related to like the hygiene, clean house, being a present parent thing, because again, people feel a lot of pressure and expectation to just like soldier on through this loss, and it can be really freeing to tell a person, like, I know that you're not okay, so please stop trying to do the thing where you pretend that you're okay. I am not judging you. I will not shame you. I am here to just be supportive, whatever that looks like for you. Okay, and the last thing that I think is really important to include here is to actually talk about the person or animal or whoever that died, because a lot of times people are uncomfortable with bringing up the dead person, right? It's like a fear that we're going to activate more grief, or we're going to make them feel worse. And it is good to check in with the person and make sure that they actually want to do that. But don't be afraid to talk about the person that died, especially in a positive way, because the reason the person is sad is because someone that they love and cared about died, right? So it can be really healing and really freeing to share stories about this person and say, oh my gosh, do you remember that time that they did this thing that was really funny? Or like, this was such a them move to say or do this thing. It feels good to talk about the person who died. And so if you are willing to open that conversation, or if the person who is grieving is willing to open that conversation, talk about the person who died and don't make it a taboo subject. Don't make it weird. Again, it is really healing to talk about the person who died and to share memories and to share how you feel about it. The person who's grieving will probably cry, even if the memories you're sharing are happy. That is okay. That is normal. That's to be expected. You're not doing something wrong. The reason they're crying is because they're grieving, because that's really fucking sad. But again, feeling like they have to not talk about the person that died is really suffocating, and it can feel like, oh, I don't want to talk about the person who died because this person's trying to be supportive, and I don't want to be the person who like can't get over it, or I don't want to make them sad. And so you opening up that conversation and holding space to talk about the dead person is, again, really freeing, really useful, and I would encourage you to do that. So that's our 5 things. I hope that this was helpful. Like I said, want to issue a caveat with this because it's important that we're checking in with the person who's grieving to make sure that what we're doing is like okay. Don't violate boundaries. Don't push a conversation if they're not ready to have it. But it's a pretty safe bet to validate somebody's emotions and give them permission to feel however the fuck that they feel. So definitely lean into those. But again, the caveat here is to make sure that you're checking in with the person and that you're supporting them in the way that they need to be supported. If you guys like the video, hitting the thumbs up does really help the algorithm and all that stuff. I think it's down here. Is it down here? Yeah, it's down here. And that does really help boost the video. So if you liked it, please do the thumbs up thing. Leave comments because I love to chat with you guys. So if you have something to say, I would love to hear it. And subscribe to the channel. If you like therapy content, click the subscribe button. We talk about a whole bunch of stuff here and I would love to have you. That's it. Share the video to help the channel grow and to help each other grow. And I'll see you guys next Saturday. Okay, bye.